In Nietzsche's world, the birth of philosophy began with the death of God, an ancient God on which everything human beings were built. When poets and philosophers take up the pen, it is unfair to try to interpret that sentence as it is written. So, what does this concept mean? Why Nietzsche? In the book Thus Spoke Zarathustra, announcing the death of God. And the more important question is, how does Nietzsche give such good meaning to life? And why millions of people come out of from low self-esteem, lack of motivation, depression, and monotony of life every year with the help of the thoughts of this crazy genius? The question that we're going to examine today with the help of the book Thus Spoke Zarathustra, the work of Friedrich Nietzsche's super philosopher of history, and explain all the important and practical cases of this book, the dark and frightening truths of life, which Nietzsche had both warned and his solutions, he had said. If you imagine that your life will have to be repeated over and over again, will you be satisfied with it? Hello, everyone. I wish you a good heart and a beautiful life. I'm Lena, and together we will travel to the inner world and walk the path of awareness. Be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of my latest videos. Thank you so much for supporting me and cheering me up with your kind heart. The first scary truth. The question that Nietzsche wants to ask us is how satisfied we really are with our lives. How precious is our life? Some lives are worth experiencing only once and no more, because a person is very afraid that by wasting his life, he will again experience caring about the words of others and living for the satisfaction of others. This means that he has never been satisfied with his life. This is the same fear that we may all have. It is a question that we must ask ourselves right now from the depths of our minds. Are you really willing to be who you are for thousands of times? Irvin Yalom, one of the great psychologists of today and the father of the science of existentialist psychoanalysis, explains this concept in his book The Schopenhauer Cure as follows. Nietzsche's message to us was to live in such a way that we can experience it infinitely. Let's leave no place of life without living life to the fullest, and dying at the right time. These thoughts that we have just talked about are the eternal return of Nietzsche, now that this question has occupied our minds. Let's move on to Nietzsche's most important and controversial talk, namely the death of God. In the book Thus Spoke Zarathustra, a fictional character named Zoroaster spends 10 years in a cave thinking, and after he comes out, like a messenger who has important news and discovers something new in a way that no one knows about, he begins and tells the people about the death of God, and as you can predict, he is not welcomed by the people when Nietzsche says that God is dead. In fact, it refers to the collapse of traditional values and beliefs in modern society. This sentence may seem at first to be an anti-religious statement, which unfortunately many people also interpret in this way, Or rather, they like to interpret it this way, but in fact, this sentence is a reference to the loss of the value of tradition in the world. Now imagine that, assuming the death of this God, all the beliefs, values, and morals on which God was founded would be destroyed. When we no longer have an afterlife and no way back, how can a person reach the meaning of his life? This is the inner emptiness, which is called nihilism, which is what distinguishes Nietzsche from other philosophers, and that is why Nietzsche abandoned the beliefs of his predecessors. He stripped his mind, the way he reached absolute emptiness, erased his thoughts in such a way that there was nothing in it, and then began to construct new values. We introduce Nietzsche as the representative of nihilism, and he goes from pure emptiness or nihilism to existentialism, and finally comes to how we should create value for ourselves. Nietzsche was initially faced with a crisis of meaning because, as you may know, his father was a religious man, but Nietzsche distanced himself from his father because of his hatred of religion and created new ideas for himself. It is a thought that we are analyzing and studying after 200 years, and still, many of its cases are ambiguous to us. Nietzsche advised that if you want to find the truth of life, you have to give up everything you have ever believed and go into absolute emptiness. He said that anyone, he used to say, whoever does not see the barrenness of life will be fatally harmed by it somewhere. Anyone who thinks that life is always great is easily eliminated in the cycle of time. He calls the way to deal with this barrenness hardening. Nietzsche said, "Woe to those who do not see the barrenness. The necessary condition for surviving in the barrenness is to be hardened. Well done for what makes it difficult." Unfortunately, some people are afraid to do this because they are afraid of getting stuck in emptiness. But Nietzsche believed that until we do this, the life we are experiencing is not our own, but the life of others, the life of what others have not done, the life of society. These are the things that are imposed on us, not our own real experience. And Nietzsche gave the solution to this problem. Now, what is the solution? The three metamorphoses and the superhuman. Nietzsche likens the path of a human being who seeks the true meaning of his life to three things. First, the camel. A camel that carries the burdens of its past blind beliefs and superstitions. He lives exactly according to what he was told, and like a camel that has no idea what they have loaded him, he does his job every day. This is a very familiar word today. Yes, it is called modern slavery. The second other is the lion, the rebellious and angry. The one who causes chaos is here, where the human being suffers from an identity crisis, a lion that is tired of imposing life and begins to revolt. Nietzsche said in his book that Zarathustra introduces a dragon. In the name of the dragon, you must. This dragon tells us that you should be like this, be like that, do this, do that, this is right, this is wrong. And this dragon, you must, is born with us from an early age, from the same expectations of our parents, and we define our identity with it. For example, you have to go to such and such a job so that we can be proud of you. You have to live as we say in order to be a source of pride. You have to dress like this in society or talk like this. You have to behave like this and many other things and words. And unfortunately, many people in society are like this. They pursue goals that are not to their liking and try to attract the attention of those who are not important at all. And to achieve these goals, they have to work day and night to satisfy that dragon. But unfortunately, the bad news is that that dragon will never be satisfied. Nietzsche says, if you don't take care of this dragon, you will always walk like a wandering camel in this wilderness of life. And this is where the lion revolts against all these musts, declares war, and gets tired of repetitive life and wants to live the way he wants to live. This is where Nietzsche needs the death of a god to sacrifice it so that he can finish it, to rebuild his life, rebuilding and rebirth. The third metamorphosis is to become a child, a new life, a new beginning, a new belief. He sees the world like a child, full of wonders, excitement, learning, and without paying attention to the musts. Nietzsche believed that when you enter the third stage, this stupid game of adults becomes meaningless to you. You see the world differently, with a mind free of imposed beliefs, and the whole mission of a human being in his life is to be a child again. This is where Nietzsche's child begins to dance. He himself says, I worship a God who knows how to dance, a God who plays life for you and makes you dance with a precious life. For Nietzsche, the most important and valuable thing in this world is life. He said, don't wait for the world's fortunes back and forth. Don't be deceived by the preachers who sell heaven metered. And so, let's say in parentheses that this refers to a story where Christian priests were selling the lands of heaven to the people and would have taken money from them. Nietzsche believed that we should live in the right now valuable. We should live in such a way that if we want to repeat it forever, it will not bother us. And after these three stages, the superhuman will be born at a person who became a child and rebuilt, and now has completed his own recreation, has his own rules, knows what the right path is, and understands what he really wants from life. This time he is fighting for his own desires, and not the words of the people, not the words of the media, not even the words of the "you must" dragon. Nietzsche believed that man must have the will to power. He said that it is only by accepting and understanding this will that he can become a Superman, and in the last step we will come to the full responsibility of life, where Nietzsche reaps the fruits of all the seeds that he sown, where if man takes full responsibility for his life, he can begin an effort to build the life he owns. And as he himself says, you must have the courage to be resilient in the face of life's hardships. We need to know that many situations in life are uncontrollable, and we must also have the skill to deal with unpredictable events. Now that we understand this, once again, we ask the question from the beginning, what was Nietzsche really referring to when he said that God is dead? My friends, Remember that our greatest joys are often intertwined with our deepest sorrows. Just remember, every great journey begins with a small step. Thank you for being with me on this journey today. If you liked the video, click the like button and follow our videos and stay tuned for my new videos. Thank you so much for always encouraging us. And finally, hello and the light of God's kindness shines brighter than ever.